All right, folks. I guess you never hear the recording in progress that precedes these episodes or these recordings, but that's what you always hear on one of these Zoom things. And then I always react like that's what's happening. Well, folks, if you can ignore what I just said, welcome to the show.
Episodes when you don't hear it, it's because he didn't press it, and those are never made.
And those episodes don't go. For example, one of the best episodes I ever did in the history of the Sports Dump was an interview with Amin Al-Hassan, who is a former NBA executive, worked on ESPN, went really well, very funny. We had a great rapport. I deleted the recording immediately. Never made it out. Probably the best episode ever.
That would ruin your brand if that sort of thing got out there.
Exactly. Which leads me to this episode here, which, who knows, this could be as good as that one, in which case I'll almost certainly erase it. But this is the first iteration of another Sports Dump reinvention with, a familiar face, myself, Joe Canale. And if you're listening, then it's a familiar voice. But we are also on YouTube now, so you can go over onto YouTube. I actually think the Sports Dump has a channel, so that's where I'm going to put it.
Is that true? YouTube. I don't know, but I'm going to announce that we closed a deal with YouTube.
There it is. And that voice right there, if you don't know, folks, is Quincy Miller, who is a Sports Dump contributor, co-owner of the Sports Dump website, and which means nothing. It means actually he's the owner because he's been paying for the website the last few years, I think. So that makes you the owner, I suppose.
That's.
So I guess you're kind of the boss in this scenario.
Well, then we're shutting this thing down.
Well, that might be, ultimately, that's probably my subconscious goal, ultimately, is that it'll get shut down, and that's why I chose you.
I'm not getting any return on my $13 a month. I can tell you that much right
Is it that much?
Oh,
all
yeah.
right, well, we need to generate some money out of this. So if you're a regular Sports Dump listener, God bless you, first off. What's your problem? Second off, we're going to try this iteration once a week, probably earlier in the week. But the nice thing about trying to do it earlier in the week is that when each day gets subsequently canceled, you still got a few days to get it done for the rest of the week, which brings us to today's Friday episode. I don't know what I was waiting for.
Yeah.
And in the future, Quincy, I've brought Quincy on as my producer, because if you're going to have something with a producer, the name Quincy is a pretty good name to attach to production.
I think I'll be the first successful Quincy to produce anything.
Yeah. Well, any non-musical thing. If we need music in this, we'll bring Quincy Jones in. But until then, we'll keep Quincy Miller, which is a pretty, also Miller and Jones. Like Quincy Smith is like the third of your trio.
He better hope I don't ever run into him again. That's all I'm gonna
say. So this is the pre-Super Bowl episode, and I don't know if we're even allowed to say Super Bowl, are we?
They're gonna sue us, and we're not gonna have that $13 a month.
Exactly.
Keep this thing going.
And a lot of that. So it's kind of it's not the Super Bowl. It's the championship games, which will lead to the Super Bowl. So I was wrong when I said Super Bowl there.
So you just got us in legal hot water for absolutely no reason.
No reason, not even. Yeah, also the Olympics. I'll say that we're sponsored by them too.
Yes.
Now, you Quincy. I think if you were to be involved in any sport, it would be college football first, and then just because some of those players still end up playing, pro football second.
Yeah, I just kind of project how well they'll do in the NFL based on their college success.
And that always translates, Eric Crouch.
It's like Vince Young and Johnny Manziel and Tim Tebow are all vying for a spot in the Super Bowl, I'm assuming, this weekend.
Just slightly off topic. Do you think Johnny Manziel wins the Heisman without Mike Evans?
I never thought that Johnny Manziel was that good. Like, what he was brilliant at was scrambling out of pressure. Like, he would have three guys about to sack him. He'd scramble out and just throw a prayer downfield
that Mike Evans would catch.
Mike Evans in triple coverage would jump up because he's 6 inches taller. He'd bring it down, and the announcers would say, Johnny Manziel single-handedly makes something happen. I'm like, that.
Mike Evans, man, I remember because he was on TV all the time that year. A&M was. And yeah, Evans made he was a beast. Manziel was kind of like Fran Tarkenton, just like, who also, if you look at his stats, was like as many interceptions as touchdowns in his career. I also want to comment for those who are listening and not watching. I'm a little self-conscious, and I realize, like, I'm looking at myself here and I'm like, God, my upper lip, I feel like I need a mustache or something. And that's because Quincy has, like, you can actually see the dimensions of his beard in this two-dimensional thing. It's so thick and full that it has texture in the image there. And that is making me feel a little insecure about my top lip. Seems a little thin in comparison.
I had to bring the gravitas to this podcast.
There's a lot of gravitas there. And even though I have slightly more hair up on top, yours is just so, your dome is quite even.
My hair is so heavy, it just sank to the bottom. It
does, but you have as I look at your head right there in this, you have a good round head. You could play Egghead if they ever recast the role.
This is getting a little creepy.
Okay, you're right.
Yeah.
So let's talk about, did you watch any of the football last week?
I did not. That makes me an excellent choice to co-host this podcast.
It's fine. Everyone's talked that shit to death. Are you going to watch it this weekend?
I am probably not. I definitely, I check on the scores and then I get mad for some reason when the team I don't want to win invariably does. Even though I don't watch the games, it doesn't affect me. But yeah, I'm going to be mad when it's Chiefs 49ers again for some reason.
Chiefs 49ers.
I don't know why I'm going to be mad.
Yeah, that is the worst combo, I think, of any of them. 49ers is the worst of the four teams, and then just have, if it's going to be the 49ers, at least give us, a repeat of that. There's been that Super Bowl twice, the Bengals Niners. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. And just let's see what Joe Burrow can do. That's all I want to know. He's like 19-0 in big games or something like that.
It's crazy. And like, he must be good in big games because he got sacked 9 times. Yeah. So if you get sacked 9 times and you win the game, there's something else at play there. I don't think their coach is necessarily particularly good. Zach Taylor, former Nebraska quarterback.
Are there any coaches left that you think are particularly good?
Well, Bill Callahan, a name I almost never said in the past.
I don't mean in the world. I mean coaching now in the playoffs, NFL playoffs.
Or are there any coaches now? Yeah, Andy Reid. I mean, he got a title. Who are coaching the other team? Sean McVay, California surfer dude.
Baby Shanahan.
That's that whole tree there, whatever, that West Coast tree. So it just strikes me as being kind of like the Ivy Leagues, but in a like dumber way.
Well, I mean, I think, and then we had Denver. Just speaking of nepotism and Mike Shanahan, we got Paul Hackett's kid coming in.
Is that who that was?
Yeah, USC fans love that.
Unbelievable how much, yeah. And that's, if they do not get Aaron Rodgers and they hired that guy,
I would love to see him be the first coach fired without coaching a single game.
Oh my God.
Without a scandal.
That would be incredible.
The Mike Price way.
Yes. So you're not going to watch the games this weekend. That's okay, because the games have been going, the weekends have been, the first weekend of the playoffs was shit. Last weekend was incredible. This weekend will be shit. And then that either means we're going to have an incredible Super Bowl, or if you believe it the other way, we'll have an incredible Pro Bowl and then a shit Super Bowl.
That's what I'm hoping for. Just the greatest Pro Bowl of all time.
It's in Vegas.
Just a bunch of hungover.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah.
Hurt themselves.
They're all going to be on edibles, like it's just going to be, those games are like, they're all on edibles anyway. I think they should do like a skills competition.
Yeah, I think do that and then have like a sober regular person and just see how much the skills difference is.
So you'd actually have to really emphasize getting the Pro Bowlers loaded the night before. Oh, yeah. Just to show like, all right, this is baseline, non-drunk regular person versus super hungover NFL player, not even trying.
Yeah.
still much better than you is probably the outcome there.
Yeah. But speaking of the games last week, not to beat a dead horse on my expertise here, one thing that I hate about those games, people talk about the Chiefs game as, you know, the greatest NFL game. That's a you see that every weekend in college football. That's why college football is better than NFL. I mean,
that is true.
That's not a big deal seeing that many points in the fourth quarter
and seeing it played back and forth like that too.
Yeah, don't watch the NFL. Just college football year round. They're getting paid now. They can take it.
So you're saying, oh, just keep playing college football?
Oh yeah.
Well, you know, you could do it with, if you took enough weeks off in between, you could run it all year, and you can make the argument that it makes sense to do that because they are healthier that way.
I don't care about that part. I just want my entertainment.
But imagine a 36-week NFL season where teams alternate. They play every other week. You know, you could go NFC, AFC, and maybe sometimes you play 2 weeks in a row, and sometimes you have 2 weeks off. But that way, everybody's got their health fully healthy, and the NFL then dominates about, 10 months of the year.
We don't need more NFL games.
No, we don't. No. We don't. But we're going to get more. They're going to keep adding it. All right. So again, we don't need to analyze shit, because that's one thing I know that this sports dump will not be, is like solid sports analysis.
No intelligence here.
Yes. So again, within that realm, there must be something that is pleasing or appealing to people within the realm of stupidity. And I think the common era that we live in has shown that that's possible. I want to, do you follow soccer? American soccer?
Oh, I don't miss it.
All right. So you
who
watched that
doesn't follow
last
American
night?
soccer? Oh, it's still on. It's still a thing.
What is?
American soccer.
Yeah.
I thought that was just a brief fad, and then we all moved on.
No, I mean, like America, like the U.S. soccer team.
Yeah, I know. I thought
you thought they stopped playing soccer.
Allocated those resources somewhere more valuable, like a national Quidditch team or something like that.
I've told the story before of watching 18 children standing next to a baseball diamond on broomsticks playing Quidditch.
I think I'm more interested in why you're hanging around just watching children.
Well, it was very difficult because I asked I can I take a picture of this? No, you can't take a picture of
no.
Kids at a park playing Quidditch. But I was just struck by the fact that, hey, kids, you know what? Gloves brooms are cheaper than gloves. Well,
the sad thing about that is, if that keeps growing, sooner or later, there's going to be some transcendent athlete in Quidditch. And we're going to have to be like, can you imagine? Like, they could have played it the NBA. They could have been a quarterback, and they're playing Quidditch. You know,
and they're making more money doing that than they would have playing those other sports, because they're the only athlete who decided to do it. It's like if Jim Brown decided not to play football and just play lacrosse. I don't know if people know, but Jim Brown was apparently also the greatest lacrosse player in the world, which makes sense. If Herschel Walker is playing against guys from Johns Hopkins.
Yeah, whether that's literally true or hypothetically true, it's true all the same. Like, I don't know if he actually did it, but I can tell you Jim Brown is the greatest lacrosse player of all time.
Whether he played or not.
Yeah.
So I got off course on something we were talking about. It's all right.
Quidditch. Kids playing Quidditch.
Quidditch.
We don't want to leave our viewers hanging.
No, it's important to talk about that, because there's also a board game of Quidditch, which someone gave my kid, and we tried to play it for about a minute. I'll just say this. Everyone plays simultaneously. Any board game where everyone is playing at the same time, and there's no turns, no, especially with kids. Nightmare. You know what? I'm glad that woman turned out to be a not nice person, even though I've probably given a lot of money to that series.
Oh, I thought you meant the woman that gave you the board game.
I got it from J.K. Rowling.
Yeah.
So we're both right. I wanted to talk about with you, because college football is your game, and since you didn't watch the soccer match yesterday, which was it wasn't worth it.
I could have told you that.
Oh, something's happening. I think
Breaking
I'm
news.
recording under the stairs. And so there are people having a conversation on the stairs above me.
You're going full Harry Potter today.
This room is pretty much the exact dimensions of the Harry Potter.
That's Joe's entire apartment right there.
This is it. This is it. You know, I do have a lightning shaped scar that our viewers can see up on my head. That was caused by Voldemort.
Harry Potter realizing none of his potential right here. Starting the first improv team at Hogwarts instead of learning any of the other stuff.
The only wizard to eschew magic.
Yes. The only spell he learned was yes and.
Yeah. Oh, and I didn't learn that very well. I wanted to ask, so you are a Texas fan.
Yes.
A school that always has big, good recruiting classes. We are on the edge of the second recruiting deadline, right?
We went in February when it counts.
Yes, when it counts for some reason. And when players should be in classes for weeks, but they can still sign weeks after for these teams and come in and play for them somehow. So I'm a Nebraska fan, and we have your old quarterback.
Yes.
You have Ohio State's old quarterback. Our old quarterback is playing at Kansas State. And there are like 12,000 kids in the portal. What happens to these kids now who are in the portal and don't get picked up by a team?
Yeah, that's a long, awkward walk back to the practice facility, I would imagine.
But sometimes they're not allowed to come back at that point, right?
You know, I don't know. I know we were pursuing an Alabama linebacker that went back to Alabama after seeing that we were his best option. So, yeah, I think it all depends. I'm sure Saban's going to make his life a living. He's going to be at the bottom of the depth chart for sure, but he'll get another ring out of it. So,
well, there you go. And
yeah.
You know, I think the nice thing about playing at Alabama is you don't play unless and some dudes are good enough to play as freshmen there. Those are the, you know, first round draft picks.
Yeah.
But a lot of those guys, now I'm sure the practices are as brutal as a lot of teams' games, but they don't have, especially the running backs. The running backs don't have to play 3 seasons of, you know, 250 carries before they go to the NFL.
Yeah.
You know, they kind of back up, and then they are usually the featured guy for 1 year, and then they go. And I think a lot of the players at Alabama get that. And I don't know if that's a selling point or not, but I would say that. I'd say, you're competing against the best players, and then you're not going to get the shit kicked out of you until you're, you know, sophomore or junior year.
Well, I mean, they're not going to get the shit kicked out of them at all. They play.
No, right. They're Alabama
games.
Players.
Yeah. You know, it's like you're going to run through holes the size of you drive a truck through. You're not going to get touched.
True.
So there's going to be a lot. I mean, look at Derrick Henry should be dead is what should have happened, but he's still going strong because there was a lot of tread on those tires coming out of
that is true. And Tennessee is making sure to get all the wear off of those tires, though.
Oh yeah.
I mean, he's got a metal plate, and they'd have been better off playing the other guy more, actually. So do you think Texas football is going to be good this year?
I think Texas football is going to be good every year. I talk myself into it somehow. The problem is, what I love about the Big 12 is that basically, if you can talk yourself into winning 2 games, you're a playoff contender. So you're thinking, man, if we just have a good game against Oklahoma twice, sure, we can beat Iowa State, and although we could make the playoff this year. Like, we're more talented than all these other teams, and then we go out and we get the shit kicked out of us by Baylor and Oklahoma State. And
it's true. Texas, much like, well, in different circumstances, but like Notre Dame, if they have a clear path most years, as opposed to a team in the SEC other than Alabama, you always have Alabama in your path in that conference. Oklahoma, like you said, but that's even variable. You know, on the years Oklahoma wins that battle with Texas, they almost always go to the national championship playoff. And Texas just thinks, if we do what they do, but then they drop one to Kansas State every year.
Kansas State, if we're lucky.
Yeah.
Kansas every other year.
Has Kansas beat Texas twice in the last 4 years?
I think last 6, but yeah.
That's still.
I think they have more wins over Texas than they do over any other school in the past decade.
Well, speaking of Kansas, that's the only Power 5 team to not go to a bowl in the last 5 years, except for one other team. Can you name it?
I'm going to say the Nebraska Cornhuskers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, hopefully Nebraska is going to have a Michigan State type turnaround where they've changed their roster almost completely. They have 30 new guys at practice now. So this was for 2 fan bases, this little section of our conversation. This was for the Texas fans and Nebraska fans.
Well, you poached a quarterback from a 5-7 team that has a quarterback whisperer as a coach, so I don't see how the sky isn't the limit.
Well, now you can answer this because maybe I'll have some Nebraska fans listen. He was much better before he hurt his hand, correct? Wasn't he on fire?
Oh yeah, he was doing like it doesn't make any sense because he doesn't have a great arm and he likes to throw directly at linebackers, but for some reason he was always like 30 for 32 for 500 yards, with those 2 being big drop interceptions. And he's also the least mobile quarterback. Like he's from the Byron Leftwich school of quarterback.
Yes.
Like he looks like he could run.
Yes.
He won't even think about it.
He's kind of the anti-Cooper Kupp, if you will.
Yes, and that he's a quarterback.
No, in that the expectation there. I mean, we can be honest. I mean, in college, when you see an African-American quarterback, often people will think that they can run. And he mentioned, I saw his dad was a great option quarterback at Oklahoma.
Well, yeah, no, I mean, I'm not just being racist here. Is what
no,
I'm saying.
no,
like,
and I didn't mean in that, but I mean, like that's what a lot of people make the assumption of.
Yeah, he looks very athletic and like, and he looks like he's built like a wide receiver almost, or a running back. And he's just plodding. Like,
he's not a fast runner.
If you have Carson Palmer back there and you think that guy can't take 2 steps without tripping over his feet, but no, I don't know if he's fast. He just doesn't want to run. Like
Leftwich is a great example because Leftwich and Culpepper, for example, kind of were contemporaries but so different in their games.
Yeah.
Like I remember Leftwich actually being carried. Now this isn't because he's slow, but he broke his leg in a game at Marshall. Yeah. And they were carrying him up to the line to, I think they won that game, actually.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why he's slow now. His leg got snapped in college.
Well, I mean, Culpepper he was a tank once he got going. He was like Bowser in Mario Kart. Starts slow, but once he's at full speed, he's like Derrick Henry.
Yes.
Get out of his way.
Right. Derrick Henry's built like Culpepper, but runs faster.
Yeah. But both of those guys were just kind of the pre-Manziel, and that they just had to throw it deep and let Randy Moss do the rest.
Yeah, right. That's very true. All right. So any surprises for Texas coming before signing day? Are they still going for guys?
This is a good spot for Texas to be in because the only surprise would be if the 5-star offensive lineman doesn't sign with us. So that's probably what's going to happen.
Oh, yeah. Like those twins who left.
Yeah, that's the Brockermeyer twins.
Right.
Legacies. Yeah.
At Alabama now.
Yes. Buried on the depth chart, I believe.
Oh, well, that's all right. Well, Joe Burrow was a Nebraska legacy that we didn't really pursue that hard, so that didn't work out very well.
Well, the Texas way is you pursue Heisman-winning quarterbacks to play safety. So you do pursue them, just don't want them throwing the ball.
There's a lot of schools that are like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. One last thing I want to mention, and this is another reason that I've decided to try this venture out again. Now, I don't know how long it's going to take for online gambling to make it to California, but you and I both have, whenever you're dealing with sports, sometimes you dip into the world of sports gambling. If legalized online gambling came to California, would you set up an account?
I probably not. I'm very good at talking myself into believing that I'm smarter than I am.
Now that's a human trait, but
yeah, I bet on college football for one season, and I absolutely killed it. I was at winning 80% of my bets, and I started thinking to myself, I should do this. Like this should be what I should do. And then I really started thinking, I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. This was just luck, and this is how I end up homeless. So I was like, it's best if I just never do this again, because
So you had a really good year. Now, were you really investigating it and trying to like make calculated choices?
I was, but I didn't know what I was doing. Like I was invested, like, oh, it's going to be 45 degrees in there. I bet that's going to affect the passing game. And so I'm going to take the under, you know what I mean? Like just pulling shit out of my ass.
Like,
and it would turn out to be
first level, like when a 12-year-old discovers gambling, the way they would make choices.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, oh, it's the Tigers versus the Bulldogs. Tigers are going to win that one, you know? And then I just got lucky.
I don't think you were doing that.
And I started thinking, man, I'm smarter than everybody else in the world.
Well, how much would you wager?
Most of the time. I was probably like, I think I only bet on Big 12 football. Because I felt like I'm familiar with that, which I'm really not. I don't know how Kansas State versus Iowa State is going to go. But I was betting, I think like $100 a game.
Would you bet 4 games a week, 5 games a week?
Not necessarily. If I didn't see anything that looked good to me by whatever my criteria was, I didn't bet on it. But yeah, I would try to bet on them.
Okay.
Or if it was like a non-conference game that I was familiar with.
Now, ultimately, you had a strategy there, which was good. You stuck to one kind of conference that you knew. Now, would you just only do interconference games, or just the teams involving those? Like, would you do
mainly interconference? But if it was, USC versus Kansas State, I would know those teams.
Well, and did you play multiple bets? Did you go money lines? Did you hit spreads? Did you take overs?
I did all those, but not on the same game. Like I would only do one bet per game. Like I would think, oh, the under is the smart bet on this game, and then I'm done on this one. On to the next one.
Nowadays, you can do an in-game parlay.
Yeah.
This is not my Bet Rivers podcast, so I'm not going to get into that. But it's interesting because was this before or after you had done the poker playing?
Same time.
Same time.
Yeah.
All right. And what our listeners may not know is Quincy for a short time. So the same time that you were basically making your living doing online poker, correct?
Yes.
You were also doing a little. Now, how were you doing these football bets? Through a friend?
No, I was doing it online. This was before Bet Rivers.
Of course.
Do I have to throw that plug in there?
No, not at all. Okay. Not at all.
Yeah, I don't remember which site I was using, but maybe Bovada, something like that.
Was it illegal?
Bodog at the time. I mean, it was all in a great. Poker was probably illegal.
And tell me about that. How long did you do that with the poker?
I believe about 7 years.
7 years?
Yeah. Just wasted time. Just
a lot of jobs are wasted time.
Yeah, but you can put them on a resume. If you want a big 7-year gap in your work.
All this leads to is inviting the IRS to investigate you more closely and debt.
Yeah, and then when the Treasury shuts down online poker in the United States.
Hang on a sec. I got to take this. Hello? Yes. Okay, I'll be over to get it in maybe 10, 15. Great. Bye.
Were you wearing a wire this whole time? Was this a setup to get me to confess to illegal gambling?
Okay, you can go in. You can go in and get it.
We got what we needed.
No, although I was thinking of a story about a guy who got busted for drugs a long time ago. Not worth telling right now. 7 years though, and what made you eventually quit?
They shut it down. The United States government shut it down. On a day known as Black Friday, I played poker in the morning, took a nap. When I woke up, poker was shut down in the United States, and all my accounts were frozen. And yeah.
Did you get your money?
Decisions. Not for a long time, like years later. So I woke up with a 7-year gap in my work history, no appreciable skills. And it's like, what do I do now?
You might as well be an improviser.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's too bad that show we worked on, which is Fair Game with Brock Everett. You can't find it anywhere. The network no longer exists.
They took it off YouTube. It's not even on YouTube anymore.
It's just been taken down completely. No evidence it ever existed. I have a few episodes on a hard drive somewhere, but no one would believe that. Oh, you're using some lighting.
That's
Nice.
my other computer monitor.
Very fancy. So, so you would have kept doing it, and you didn't think like, oh, I'll move to Vegas and be doing this, because that's not the same thing, I guess. There's more suckers online.
Yeah, I mean, it had long since stopped being fun, but you're just kind of trapped at that point. So what else are you going to do?
Interesting perspective there. Trapped by your own skills.
Yeah, I'm glad that you think it's a unique perspective that addictions are bad. Never thought of that, kids. Your escapes end up being something you need to escape from.
Well, that's true. Self-medication is my middle name.
Yes.
No, I was commenting more on the fact that, hopefully that's what this podcast will become for you.
A prison that I just want, that's ruined my work prospects.
But you just keep doing it.
Yeah.
Well,
until the government shuts us down.
I hope it's as profitable and as noticed by the government as the gambling site as well. That would be great.
If this podcast ends with you going to jail for tax evasion, I will consider it successful.
Most people would. I can't. I mean, I don't know what taxes they could get from me. When you got nothing, you got nothing to lose.
I don't think that's a tax return. I keep telling you, you can't just tell them that and send it in every April.
No, man, I just
come and get it, suckers.
Bob Dylan, when you got nothing to lose. Signed, Robert Zimmerman. I send it in all the time, every year. Yeah. And I have to keep changing my address every year.
Look at me, I'm in a closet under the stairs.
I can't say what stairs because then they'll find me. Well, this has been a better than I thought the first venture would go, simply because it went.
And well, have you verified that you're recording?
It still says recording. Now the other step is, and to be fair, the next step is getting this online, because I recorded an episode with my brother a few weeks ago that I then didn't put up, and now I'm never going to.
It'll be a good birthday present for him one day. You can give it to him and say, hey, remember when?
Well, now I know he doesn't listen because he never asked me about it. So
yeah.
All right. Well, we are going, this is the baseline here, folks. So like if we were to do like, concussion testing, this would be our baseline episode. And then if you wanted to see if we had a concussion while doing an episode, you'd have to watch this one.
And also, just to let you know, the kind of forethought that's going into this thing is starting at the end of January, so that we can get off on the next 3 months are the worst in the sports calendar. So you'll have lots of top-notch content.
That has happened to me before. I think we actually started working on Fair Game around this time.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. Right before the Super Bowl, but then we weren't doing shows at that point. We never did a Super Bowl show.
No, I don't know that we ever did it. I don't know that they ever recorded any of those shows. That might have been what shut us down. There's no evidence of them, certainly.
They've erased the evidence. And also, I started the one successful podcast I've had, the Big Red Cobcast, which is defunct after 365 episodes. We did the same thing. We started after the bowl game, and then we were like, oh, recruiting's over. It's the nice desert. Well, that'll give us time to, play around, to, try new things out, because this is not your standard sports podcast.
No.
It may not even be a sports podcast. And a podcast is also barely for sure.
This is not a sports podcast. I think we can go ahead and say that. It's
all
neither
right.
Sports nor podcast.
But the word dump applies somehow.
Yes.
Okay, yes. Good. All right. Well, I will eventually send you that Google Doc I promised that still hasn't come, where we'll put all our great ideas for future episodes and maybe cop some of the old ideas from that old show that didn't make it in, which means they must have been great.
When you say that the Google Doc didn't come, did you write to Google and they're mailing you something?
Yeah, isn't that how it works?
I'm sure. Yeah. Yeah, sure.
They'll be knocking on your door. That won't be the police to arrest you for gambling. It's Google with the doc.
Oh, okay. All right. I'm going to go let them in right now.
Yeah. All right. Well, this was our episode. Again, you're listening to it on whatever platform you want, or you're watching us on YouTube, and wherever you're doing it, do whatever the highest level of reviewing available is.
If
Whether
you're on
it be
YouTube, I think we have to say smash that like button.
smash the like button.
I don't know if there's still a like button,
but if there is, for some reason, smash it.
Yeah.
All right. And we'll be back hopefully next week with something.
Sure.
All right, good. That's the kind of enthusiasm I'm hoping for.
as we get.
Well, your kid's going to be a lineman someday. So if we can keep this going long enough, it'll be like Pat McAfee. We just get him in on the show.
Follow any of what you said at all.
It's a long-term plan that'll never come to fruition. Don't worry about it. All right. Well, thank you, Quincy. And thank you if anyone made it this far listening.